So here we have a video from Critical Drinker. This is about the BAFTAs. I don't know if you guys know this or not. I talked about it on the Nerdcast. So apparently there's been updates since we streamed on this on Monday. So the BAFTAs, which is like one of the big prestigious award shows over in the UK, and in the audience was a man, I believe it is Jonathan Davidson, I think that's his name, who has Tourettes, a specific form of Tourettes where he yells out inappropriate things. And this is that's the form that people typically associate with Tourette's, is the one where people say inappropriate stuff. And there's not a lot of awareness on it. It's not as widespread as people think it is. And so he's mad BAFTA didn't recognize Rogue Elements. Yeah, it's probably true. There's a lot of ignorance on it. I covered it on Monday, and there's a lot of people who either have a different form of Tourette's or they actually have that same version of it, who talk about it and explain it in detail. And I, like many other people, I don't know enough about it. Even after listening to people talk about it, I don't know enough about it to make a judgment call. Also, it is something that I believe the communities that are affected by it should speak up and be more vocal about it, because they're the ones that are getting the brunt of all the harassment over this. So I don't want to speak over anybody who has something to say about this, but I want to point out the only reason these guys are talking about it, the only reason, is because it's real simple. It's really fucking simple. The only reason these guys are even talking about this is because it was a white guy who yelled the N-word at black guys on stage at a very inappropriate moment. So like, it was a slur, it was at an inappropriate moment, and it was a white guy that did it. And so they think that is their hill to die on. That's what it is with these guys, because they don't give a fuck about people with any sort of disabilities. They don't give a fuck about people struggling with something in their life that makes it difficult for them to go out in public and be a part of they don't care about this guy. They don't really care about people with disabilities. They don't care about people with Tourette's. They don't care about black people. They don't care about any of this stuff. So for them, this is just the perfect storm of, we're going to grift off of something, because that's just what they do. But let's hear what Critical Drinker has to say about this. I'm sure it's going to be very enlightening.
Normally I'd greet the prospect of the BAFTAs, basically a low-rent British version of the Golden Globes with a bunch of celebrities that nobody in America's ever heard of, with about as much enthusiasm as a 3-day corporate seminar about correct spreadsheet usage. But then something strange happened. Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo were up on stage presenting an award when someone in the audience shouted a very naughty word. A word that I absolutely can't and won't play here on YouTube for obvious reasons, but well, you get the picture.
Okay, so he's acknowledging that he knows the word is inappropriate. These guys all know the word is inappropriate. They would never say it in public, although I have a sinking suspicion they say it in private with their friends quite often. I do believe they probably say it in private. Matter of fact, there's a couple of these guys that I have followed over to like Kick and Rumble, and they've said it before over there. I've actually heard them say it over there. Not the bigger channels, but some of the mid-range channels. Nick Ricada has said it. I actually think he said it on YouTube before too. So some of these guys have said it before. So it's not a word that's not in their vocabulary. They just know that socially it is still the one slur that they can't completely get away with. So that's why they stay away from it. Anyway.
I mean, credit to Lindo and Jordan on this one, they probably had no fucking idea what was going on, but they were both absolute pros and carried on with the show like nothing had happened. But who would do such a thing, and why? Well, the man in question was John Davidson, a disability rights campaigner who was in the audience because the movie I Swear, based on his life story, was up for a bunch of awards. Just as a side note, by the way, seriously, go watch that movie, it's absolutely spectacular. Anyway, John suffers from Tourette's syndrome, which is, and I quote, characterized by sudden, involuntary and repetitive movements and sounds, known as tics. Between 10 and 30% of people with the condition have tics that produce socially unacceptable words such as swearing, known as coprolalia, according to the Tourette's Action Charity. So in layman's terms, it can make you uncontrollably blurt out all kinds of words and phrases that you really wouldn't want to say.
I'm actually shocked that he gave all that information. I am legitimately shocked that he did that. I don't know what to think. Critical Drinker and these guys typically don't give a fuck about details. But when they're trying to frame something in a certain way, I feel like they go above and beyond. This is the same thing, like, you remember I did a video on Geeks and Gamers, Jeremy from Geeks and Gamers, and when it came to details about how well his channel was doing, he pulled up all kinds of information from Social Blade and different various places to try and defend it. So they do know how to do some sort of research. They just choose not to the vast majority of the time.
Often at the most inappropriate of moments. There's no cure and no real way to manage it, so as you can probably imagine, it's a pretty devastating condition to have to live with. In fact, funnily enough, there's literally an entire movie showing how the condition practically destroyed his life. Host Alan Cumming was quick to explain the situation afterwards in an improvised speech that did a lot to settle things down.
You may have heard some strong and offensive language tonight. Tourette's syndrome is a disability and the tics you've heard tonight are involuntary, which means the person who has Tourette's syndrome has no control over their language. We apologise if you were offended.
And that might well have been the end of it, but then the internet got hold of the footage, which for some reason the BBC hadn't bothered to bleep out, and then the retardation truly began.
Oh, so another slur. So in a video about an inappropriate word that is considered a slur, he uses a slur. I also want to talk about the term not being beeped out or phased out of any of the playbacks or anything like that. So typically when it comes to live streaming events like award shows, they run on a delay. SNL does it. A lot of places do it now, so they can beep out any inappropriate stuff. They can take out anything that's inappropriate. And they do this to cover their own asses because they don't want to be in the middle of a controversy like this one, where something happens and their editors and the people working in the production booth do not do their job, and you end up with something like this. So the problem here isn't the person with the disability. It isn't the situation. It isn't. None of that is the problem. That's all online brain rot arguments. The issue is they didn't use that time delay to edit out the slur. That's what the problem is. I did find out some other stuff was edited out, including someone saying Free Palestine was edited out. So they have the ability to edit stuff out of it because of the delay, but they didn't take this out of it. They didn't take the slur out of the live broadcast. So, in my opinion, the heaviest of blame falls on the editors and the producers and the people who did not properly mute or remove the slur from the live broadcast. That has been my stance on it from the beginning. And I think it's honestly, it is the most uncontroversial take, I think. I think that's the most uncontroversial take. Grace Randolph, we might watch that video depending on how much we get of this one. But Grace Randolph has spent days days arguing about this and having really just bad fucking takes about it. And so I think anybody in that boat on social media that's doing this and not thinking about the implications of what they're saying is being extremely irresponsible. I mean, so far we're not. This isn't a long video, and we're not that far through the video yet. But I'm very curious to what Critical Drinker's final take on this is. Anyone that says anything other than the producers fucked up, and maybe they shouldn't have had, a segment. Well, actually, no. The guy, Jonathan Davison, said he doesn't know why he was even near a microphone. So think about that for a second. You have somebody with this condition, and they put him they seat him close to a mic. Were they waiting for something to happen? Were they waiting around for him to say something inappropriate? I don't know. Columbia Rican here says, what we usually expect from the right-wing chugs, they love to throw out the slurs meant for their audience. Yeah. They were totally wanting shit to happen. Yeah, exactly. That does sound so suspect. It does sound like it was done intentionally. I think it was. I think it was done intentionally. I think they wanted a viral moment. Okay, so did they want this viral moment? Probably not. Probably not. But I think they wanted a viral moment. They wanted something to happen so that this conversation online would occur. But I think this is the worst case scenario for them. And they still could have edited it out. They still could have done that. Let's get back to this video and see what he has to say.
As best I can tell, social media seems to be divided into two camps on this one. On the one side are the people who recognise how harmful and offensive the word is, but also accept that the guy who said it couldn't control himself because he suffers from a disability, and that ultimately it was just a very unfortunate situation for all concerned. But on the other hand, there was a different perspective. You know, it's fascinating to watch people who make it their business to get offended on behalf of others for a living.
Are you for real, bro? You guys are it's a crying club. Critical Drinker, Nerdrotic, these guys it's part of it's a tissue convention. You guys are offended on behalf of all white people. You're offended on behalf of all men. That's your entire business model. Is there no fucking self-awareness? Zero? See, the one thing about these guys that always confuses me is they claim that people on my side get offended over everything, but the foundation of their content is being offended that straight white cisgender men are not always the prominent focal point of any movie or TV show. That's literally what their channels are. So this seems really disingenuous.
Suddenly having the unstoppable force of racism slam into the immovable object of ableism and just completely lose their minds over it. Suddenly they don't have a pre-written script telling them how to think and feel, and are having to exercise their critical thinking muscles for the first time in their adult lives. And well, many of them have been found.
How many times are we going to use these clips? How many times? I believe that the Critical Drinker's editor, whoever it might be, has one folder with 6 different rotated clips on it. That's what I think. Every time I react to one of his videos, it has these same fucking clips in them. Can we please get some new clips. I mean, are you really this lazy that even in your pre-recorded content where you're not even on camera, you can't get some halfway decent clips? It's the same fucking ones over and over and over again.
Wanting.
Well, isn't this a
Big surprise!
Oh my god!
Same fucking clips.
Such as everyone's favourite bad take factory, Grace Randolph, who I'm still not entirely convinced is a real person and not just some half-finished malfunctioning AI that somehow escaped into the real world, but whatever.
I want to be clear, I don't like Grace Randolph either. It's so funny to me that we are in an era where it's just chud on chud violence every day. And people would say, well, Grace Randolph isn't technically a chud. No, but she's a bad take factory, right? You have chuds and then you have the bad take factories. The people that every once in a while might say something uncontroversial, but the vast majority of the time, everything they say is something highly controversial and highly problematic. And that's what Grace Randolph is to me. Every time I see her trending on social media, it's because she's had some really bad take.
This was her initial take on the situation.
The same fucking... Can we ban the Anchorman clips too? Can we get rid of these as well? Go back, if you watch any of my Critical Drinker videos, any random one, any of them, and I mean this is not hyperbole, any of them, if you watch any of my Critical Drinker videos, you will see all of these same clips over and over and over again. The same 4 or 5 fucking memes over and over again. And people keep coming back to his videos unironically to watch the same fucking clips. Holy shit.
No matter how Tourette's works, that the BAFTAs subjected Michael B. Jordan and Delroy Lindo to that is outrageous and shameful. You know, I'm actually used to people suddenly becoming experts in subjects they have no direct experience with and haven't...
Well, I mean, that's you. That's you. Like 99% of the time, you talk about media like you're an expert, and you're literally not. And he's literally not. That again, like you're just, this is all projection. This is literally projection. On display like a fucking peacock. You're literally complaining about the stuff that you do, my boy.
Bother to do a single minute of research on the moment there's a bit of political...
This is the second time we've used the Godfather clip. It's the same clip. Second time in less than 4 minutes? Are we serious?
Posturing to be done, but it's actually kind of refreshing to have...
What the fuck? Oh my god. We just saw this clip. We just saw it. Not even a minute ago. God. All right. I had to pull myself together there.
Have someone openly profess their boundless ignorance like it's some kind of virtue. The thing is, Grace, it's actually quite important how Tourette's works in this case, because how it works is literally the reason this whole situation happened in the first place. It's like a little demon on your shoulder that can suddenly take control of your body whenever it feels like it, and force you to say and do things you absolutely don't think or feel. But hey, who cares about the details, right? She wasn't finished yet either. Oh no, the retardation...
not only did he use the R slur again while he's defending someone who has a disability. So we're in crazy world. We're in La La Land at this point. So he's making this video in defense of somebody who has a disability, which I've said from the beginning that he's not doing it in good faith. In that video, he is using the R slur. He's used it 2 times now in the same video. And in this video, he's also used this Gandalf shot both times that he's used the R slur. Same slur, same clip, 2 times in a video defending somebody with a disability. Doesn't get any more chuddy than this.
Was in full flow with this one. Tourette's means no filter, which means this man thought it. Despicable. The BAFTAs out here making fools of themselves in the entertainment industry.
You sure about that?
The same fucking...
You sure about that?
Clips.
Honestly, Grace, there's only one person making...
Oh my god. 3 times. 3 fucking times. In the video, he has used this same fucking clip. All right.
A fool of themselves in this case, and it's not the BAFTAs. The real problem with people like Grace, though, is that they can't understand neurodivergent thinking.
Oh, you see, it's the word cunt. You see that? See how clever that is? Yeah, that's really clever. I never would have thought of this. It's so big-brained.
For all their high-minded talk of tolerance, empathy, and understanding, they really can't seem to form a mental map of any mind that operates differently from their own. That's why they can't conceive that people might have different opinions from them, different...
So, you're accusing them of being outraged because people have a different opinion while you're making a video being outraged that people have a different opinion. Okay, let's continue.
Worldviews, or in this case, different ways of processing words and thoughts. Davidson himself even explained the situation the day after the ceremony, saying he was deeply mortified if anyone considers my involuntary tics to be intentional or to carry any meaning. I've spent my life trying to support and empower the Tourette's community and to teach empathy, kindness and understanding from others, and I'll continue to do so. I chose to leave the auditorium early into the ceremony as I was aware of the distress my tics were causing. Literally, the guy was fucking mortified by what had happened and left just in case it happened again. But I guess that still wasn't good enough for the middle-aged liberal white woman who makes it her business to be offended on behalf of the rest of the world.
Again, projection. You guys do the same thing. Like, if you're going to call her out on a bad take, you can call her out on a bad take, but to pretend that you guys also aren't offended on behalf of a big chunk of the population is just a disingenuous lie.
Back to Mr. Davidson. Considering he knew this was a horrible word he shouted out uncontrollably, he should have done everything he could to keep this from happening. And it's telling that he voluntarily left the event after this, as he, on his own accord, could tell what he had done was horrible. Of course, Mr. Davidson deserves to attend a ceremony where a film about it is being celebrated, but as he preaches understanding and responsibility, I wish he'd demonstrated those same things himself last night. Fucking what?
Are we keeping a tally on these clips? I want to point out again, just get on camera. Just record yourself saying the stuff in front of your camera so that your editor can interchange segments of you saying things in between your other clips so you're not using the same fucking clips every time.
What you just said is one of the most insanely idiotic things I have ever heard.
Well, isn't this a big surprise?
I fucking can't with this woman, man.
Another
I just
same
about had a
fucking clip
fucking
again.
stroke trying to make sense of this word salads.
Everyone in this room is now dumber for having listened to it.
Either way, though, the question I would ask you in this case, Grace, is what would you have had him do? Voluntarily exclude himself from the biggest moment of his entire life, where his own life story was being honoured and people were finally recognising the struggles you've been going through for decades? Shit, man, why stop there? Maybe we should just put all the people with disabilities in their own separate area, so...
I mean, you guys would have no problem with gay and trans people being separated from folks, right? Like, don't act like you don't argue exclusionary stuff yourself. You don't want gay people in movies and TV shows. You don't want trans people in anything. A lot of your community would argue that drag is actually something that should not be allowed publicly. So that's why when you make videos like this where you're like, oh, what about this guy? What about everything that he's going through? What about XYZ? You don't actually care about people having the opportunity to experience joy. You don't care about people having an opportunity to be somewhere where they're being recognized or celebrated for anything. You don't give a fuck about that. The only reason you are even in on this controversy is because you had a white guy who called black guys the N-word. That's really all this is. 100%. You don't give a you've used the R slur in a video where you're talking about defending people with disabilities. Like, let's be for real here. Let's just be for real.
They don't ruin things for the fine upstanding folks like you. I'm pretty sure there's a word for that kind of thing, but for the life of me, I just can't seem to place it.
Same clip
You know,
again.
all this does make me wonder if
Same
Grace
clip
and
again.
people like her even care about any of this stuff, if they're genuinely offended by the language that was used that night. Oh,
I mean, you should be offended by the word, right? I mean, you should be offended by it. Two things can be true at the same time. Did he actually mean what he was saying when his Tourette's flared up and he used the N-word? No, I don't think he did. I think it's something that has happened to him before. It will continue to happen to him because he has Tourette's. He has a very specific form of Tourette's where that happens. Can you be offended by the word being said to two black men on stage? Yes, you can absolutely be offended by it. Those two things can exist in the same world. The issue is the way the production handled all this and the editors handled all this. That is the problem. What you guys do, like between you and Grace, is you're arguing blame on behalf of the person with the disability and the black men on stage. Neither one of those people should be on the receiving end of any of this stuff. It is literally just the production crew behind the BAFTAs. They're the ones that did it. They're the ones that fucked up. They put a mic near the guy. He wondered why the mic was there. They did not edit out something when they were taping on a delay. There's so many things they could have done to mitigate this, and they didn't do that. That it's on them. I've yet to see any video from any of these fucking grifters or anybody out there who's taking this with any seriousness at all actually place blame on the producers of the BAFTAs, the ones who seated John, the ones who knew what was possible when they put him there, the ones who set the microphone next to him, the ones that didn't edit out the delay. All of this tells me something else was going on. But let's not do that. Let's argue about the brain rot on social media, because that's so fucking important in all of this.
or if they just love the drama, the chance to virtue signal online for some cheap and hollow validation, the little rush of power that comes from shaming someone into making an apology. I'll let you decide.
Same clip again.
Personally, when it comes to this complete shit show and everything around it, I believe that both things can be true. You can recognize that words like this have a long and harmful history, but also demonstrate a bit of understanding and maturity towards a man who struggled with moments like this his whole life. Maybe if there's one thing to be taken from all of this, it's that films like I Swear are more important than ever, and maybe, just maybe, we haven't come quite as far in our acceptance of differences as we'd like to believe.
I mean, you're making a video attacking an entire group of people. Am I the only one seeing this? Like, your video is broad brushing an entire community of people But here you're like, maybe we should have some more understanding. Maybe we should just come together and be better people. Maybe that's what we should do. Maybe you should take some of your own advice. Maybe if you listen to yourself and you took your own advice, you would know that what you're doing is literally divisive. It's really that simple. It really is. That's the end of his video.